What's up, guys? It's Jenks in the business. We got some more goodies for the Road Glide, and we got handlebars, grips, risers, new throttle tube. No. So we got almost 1,000 miles on the Road Glide. We're getting close to doing the 1K service. We've got new exhaust to put on. We've got some clutch cable pieces to put on. We've got new handlebars, new risers, new grips. We're going to be doing some stereo upgrades soon. That's sort of a mix of the Rockford upgrade with some aftermarket stuff in there as well. We're going to try that out. It may blow up in my face. It may be awesome. It may be a more affordable option than going full aftermarket. But today we're going to start with handlebars and risers. Got some instructions. I've got a cut piece of, it's kind of like a yoga mat over the tank as something to protect the tank. I've got my stand or jack underneath the bottom. I'll show you. Got this under there. It's a motorcycle jack. I don't have the wheels off the ground. It's literally just there to get the bike upright and stabilize it to do the front end work without it being leaned over on the jiffy stand. Start with, I'm going to take the T27 bolts out of the clutch lever. There's a electrical plug on the bottom side of the clutch lever. Pull the rubber boot back. It has a button. Push it. It'll disconnect. I'm going to carefully lay that down to not scratch anything, and I'm going to put the bolts away. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the front brake side. Take my knob sock ratchet. It's got a swivel on it. Now we're going to take the controls off. They look like they are probably a T20. I guess if you unplug the harnesses at the bottom of the handlebar or behind the nacelle, you wouldn't have to take these apart, but since we're changing grips also and the throttle tube, this will have to come apart. Carefully take the cover off. We can actually unplug the controls. This plug was plugged in here. It looks like we can actually unplug the controls right here. And then we can possibly. So with the cover off, you can unplug this from here. You have another plug here. They just have a little tab on them that you depress and pull out. The control still won't come off. There's a tab right here that you pull down and unlatch. Has a locating pin there, and then the whole control can slide off. You can, at that point, you can also lift the throttle tube out. So one of the things that I should have done earlier was take the bag off, take this cover off. Careful not to scratch it. And we want to pull the main fuse, which is located right here. So now with a T20, We'll take the clutch side controls off with these two T20 bolts, screws. And now if you look on the inside of this cover, that's the locating pin to lock the controls in place. This one has another wire harness plugged in here. We'll press the tab, unplug, and that one slides off. And then you can see this grip also slides in there, has a locating dowel. To take the factory triple tree cover off, there is a 3/8 bolt on each side right there. There's a Phillips head pin in the middle here, and then the steering lock has got a trim bezel on it that'll have to be popped off. So let's go ahead and take those off. We may can carefully turn the front wheel to get a little more clearance to get a ratchet and socket in there. We reach up here for the plastic clip. Using almost no pressure, we can back the screw out as long as we have a decent screwdriver. Pull the clip, pull the tank cover back a little bit using the plastic pry tool. Get up under here. We pop that bezel off. There's two more Phillips head screws there. You want to be careful not to drop those as they are pretty small. Now we should be able to snap that apart. The same with this side. There we go. Now we can see this ugly mess in here. What we're going to start with is we're going to unbolt the handlebars and we will unplug the harnesses so that they come off with the handlebar. On both sides of the factory riser, there's a T27 bolt that holds the brake line and the clutch line. So we'll unbolt that to get that out of the way. Set that to the side. And now here we can see this harness comes out of the handlebar. And press the tab, release it. That harness is disconnected now. We're going to take these labels off and loom these wires so that they're a little bit prettier. Okay, here's another one there. Press the tab and release. And then this is a ground strap. We unbolt the handlebars. They should come off now. Using a 1/4 inch Allen key socket. We want to make sure that we support the handlebar just in case it falls. Pick the plate up, pick the handlebar up, feed the wires through. All right, and we've got the upper triple tree off. So here you can see the triple tree. They've got a ground here. This is our bolts for the riser. So that's what we're going to take off next. We don't want to take the other bolt all the way out just to keep the riser from spinning. All right, so with the riser removed, we have these bushings here. So we're going to remove the factory rubber riser bushings. Once you get one out, the second one just pushes out pretty easy. Honestly, the first one came out a little easier than this one. And then just as a comparison, here's our solid bushings. And they're just going to slide in like that. And then, of course, when you bolt the new riser on, they will be tight. This riser is going to bolt up like that and looks ginormous. So what we'll do is we'll lay this down, we'll lay this down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get one started, and then I'll start the other one, and then I'll back one out, and I'll put Loctite on it. And make sure to leave the upper clamp on to make sure that everything lines up perfectly. Run the bolts out, we'll put some Loctite on it, and then we'll hit them with a torque spec. All right, Loctite on one. Go ahead and snug it up. Take the other one out. All right, let me grab a torque wrench. The factory service manual says 30 to 40 foot-pounds. I torqued them down to 35. That should be good to go. When we go back in, we'll pull these bolts back out, and we will put a little bit of Loctite on them and get them torqued to spec also. So let's get the front end of this put back together. Before we put the handlebars themselves back on, we're going to take these wires, we'll probably remove them from these brackets and do some wire loom and clean that stuff up just a little bit. Careful not to hit the tank. Slide this back on. So to get the fork stem pulled up and set up a little bit, I pushed the fork legs and the stem back through, placed a heavy box in front of the tire. I do have it on the ground, but not the full weight. So now let's slide the upper tree on. I'm gonna snug this up just a little bit. You see it's starting to pull the upper clamp down pretty evenly. So now that we have it seated, I'm going to snug up these pinch bolts. I'll take them back out and put Loctite on them and torque them to spec. Per the service manual, this is us setting the fork height. And what we'll do is torque the stem nut to 18 foot-pounds, and then we'll back it off 180 degrees, and then we'll tighten it. The spec is 8.9 foot-pounds, but we've got to be able to put a little bit of weight on the fork legs before we do that. So I just want to snug these up a little bit so they're level and holding. The 18 foot-pounds, I'm sure, is just to get the bearings seated. And now we want to back it off 180 degrees and then torque it back down to 8.9 foot-pounds. And we'll tighten the pinch clamp. We'll put a little Loctite on it, tighten it up, and then Loctite and torque down the fork pinch bolts. And then we can start going back together with the wiring and the handlebars. Now we will tighten up the pinch bolt to 15 foot-pounds. And we want to check and make sure that everything turns freely. There's no binding, no rubbing, no play. And we're good to go. We're going to tighten up these pinch bolts here and start in with the wiring and the handlebars. So with the risers installed, the next thing I want to do is I want to test fit the handlebars and see where they fit and how they feel before I do all the wiring and set everything up. I want to make sure this setup is comfortable